The ocean is silent, but it is never peaceful. Below the surface, pressure builds with every meter, crushing steel, bending metal, and turning simple mistakes into instant death. For decades, submarines have ruled the deep, hidden, powerful, unstoppable. But even these underwater giants have one terrifying weakness: when something breaks, no one can easily reach them. In the middle of the Cold War, when the oceans were battlefields and silence meant survival, a single mechanical failure could turn a billion-dollar submarine into a floating coffin. Repairs that took days, sometimes weeks, could mean detection, mission failure, or total loss. And then, one man changed everything. One diver. One impossible decision. One dive so dangerous that engineers called it suicidal. What he did in 10 minutes would replace repair procedures that normally took 10 days and forever. Change how submarines were fixed beneath the sea. This is not just a story of bravery. It is a story of pressure, fear, innovation, and a man who willingly stepped into death so others wouldn't have to. During the mid-20th century, submarines were evolving faster than the methods used to maintain them. Nuclear propulsion allowed subs to stay underwater for months, but even the most advanced technology relied on fragile components: valves, sonar domes, propeller seals, hydraulic lines, and external sensors. When one of these failed underwater, the protocol was simple, but devastating. Surface the submarine, return to base, dry dock it, begin repairs. This process could take up to 10 days, sometimes longer. During wartime, that delay could expose classified routes, weaken fleet strength, or allow enemy forces to gain the upper hand. Engineers tried robotic arms. They tried external clamps. They tried remote-controlled tools. None of them worked reliably. The pressure at depth was simply too strong. Equipment failed. Machines jammed. Human hands, however, remained more precise than anything else ever built. But sending a human that deep was considered impossible, or worse, suicidal. At extreme depths, the human body becomes fragile. Nitrogen narcosis clouds the brain. Oxygen toxicity causes seizures. Pressure crushes lungs. One wrong breath can rupture tissue. One faulty valve can flood a suit in seconds. Divers had limits, strict ones. Exceed them and the consequences were not injuries, they were funerals. Military doctors warned that sending a diver to those depths would mean decompression sickness so severe that survival would be unlikely. Even if the diver survived the dive itself, the ascent could kill him hours later. So the Navy refused, until one man refused to accept that answer. He was not famous. He was not reckless, and he was not trying to be a hero. He was a professional saturation diver, someone trained to live under pressure for days or weeks at a time. Unlike traditional divers, saturation divers allowed their bodies to fully adapt to pressure, reducing decompression risks. He understood pressure not as an enemy, but as a condition. When he examined the submarine repair problem, he noticed something others had missed. The repair itself was not complex. It didn't require hours of work. It required minutes. The danger wasn't the task. It was the dive. So he proposed something radical. What if the diver didn't ascend immediately? What if decompression wasn't rushed? What if the diver lived under pressure instead of fighting it? The idea terrified commanders. But the math worked. And the need was urgent. The plan was brutally simple. The diver would descend to the submarine's depth wearing a specially modified suit. He would carry only essential tools, nothing extra. No backup team, no second chance. He would reach the damaged component, make the repair in under 10 minutes, then retreat to a pressurized chamber, not the surface. From there, decompression would take days, not hours. If anything went wrong during those 10 minutes, there would be no rescue. The Navy doctors called it a gamble with death. The diver called it necessary. On the day of the mission, silence filled the deck. No speeches. No cheering. Everyone involved understood the odds. The diver knew something else too. If he failed, the idea would die with him. If he succeeded, underwater repair would never be the same again. As he descended, the water darkened. Light vanished. The submarine appeared like a shadow, massive, silent, waiting. Every meter deeper increased pressure. Every breath mattered. Then he reached it. The damaged component was exactly where engineers predicted. A small mechanical failure, nothing dramatic. But under pressure, even tightening a bolt felt like wrestling the ocean itself. His hands moved slowly, deliberately. No panic. No wasted motion. 5 minutes passed. 6. 7. The repair was complete. He signaled success and retreated. 10 minutes. 10 minutes replaced 10 days. The submarine was operational again, without surfacing, without detection, without delay. History had just changed. The most dangerous part wasn't the dive. It was what came next. The diver entered the pressurized chamber and began decompression. A process that would take days. Any error in pressure control could cause nitrogen bubbles to form in his blood, leading to paralysis or death. For hours, doctors watched silently. For days, the diver waited. And then, he emerged alive. What had once been impossible became doctrine. Navies around the world adopted saturation diving for underwater repairs. Specialized teams were trained. Pressurized habitats were built. Emergency repair timelines collapsed from days to minutes. Submarines became more independent. Missions became longer. Risks became manageable. All because one diver proved that human courage combined with science could defeat the ocean's cruelty. Today, underwater infrastructure, from oil pipelines to internet cables, depends on the same principles. Pioneered by that suicidal dive, the diver's name may not be widely known, but his legacy lives beneath every ocean, in every deep-sea repair, in every mission that no longer needs to surface. He didn't fight the ocean. He adapted to it. What most people never understand about deep diving is that the real enemy is not pressure alone. It is the mind. At extreme depths, the brain begins to betray itself. Time slows. Sounds distort. Simple decisions feel heavier than steel. Even experienced divers report a strange sensation, like the ocean is watching them, waiting for a mistake. For this diver, every second beside the submarine felt longer than it truly was. The silence was absolute. No waves, no engines. Just his own breathing echoing inside the helmet. One wrong thought could cause panic. One panic breath could spike oxygen levels. And one spike could end everything. He controlled his mind the same way he controlled his tools. Slow, deliberate, disciplined. Before this dive, engineers were confident that technology would solve the problem. Remote-operated vehicles were sent down again and again. Robotic arms attempted precision repairs. Cameras transmitted grainy footage back to the surface. But machines lack intuition. A human hand can feel vibration through metal. A human eye can judge alignment instantly. A human brain can adapt when something doesn't go according to plan. During the repair, one bolt resisted. A machine would have stripped it. A machine would have failed. The diver adjusted pressure, changed grip, applied force at an angle no blueprint could predict. That moment alone justified the entire mission. If the diver had failed, the consequences would have reached far beyond his life. The submarine would have been forced to surface. Enemy satellites could detect it. Intelligence routes could be compromised. Years of classified strategy could unravel in hours. In wartime conditions, one surface submarine could alter naval balance across entire regions. That 10-minute repair wasn't just mechanical, it was strategic. The diver wasn't only saving a submarine, he was protecting secrecy itself. Even after success, military doctors remained uneasy. The dive had pushed human physiology beyond what textbooks allowed. Tiny mistakes during decompression can form invisible bubbles in the bloodstream. These bubbles can lodge in the brain, spinal cord or heart, causing paralysis, strokes, or sudden death. Some divers walk out of chambers perfectly fine and collapse hours later. For days after emerging, the diver was monitored continuously. Heart rate, reflexes, vision, balance. Only when he passed every test did doctors finally accept what they had witnessed. The impossible had become repeatable. The Navy did not turn this into routine overnight. They studied every second of the mission, every breath, every movement. Training programs were rewritten. New safety standards were introduced. Saturation diving units became permanent parts of naval fleets. What was once a desperate experiment became standard operating procedure. Now, instead of asking, "Can we fix it underwater?" the question became, "How fast can we get a diver down there?" Saturation divers live differently. They spend days or weeks inside pressurized steel chambers. They sleep, eat, and breathe under conditions that mimic the ocean's depths. They miss sunlight. They miss normal air. They miss their families, all so that when something breaks in the dark, far below the surface, someone is ready to go. The diver who made that first Suicidal repair became a legend among them, not because he survived, but because he proved the job could be done. Even today, modern nuclear submarines, with all their automation, still rely on the principles proven by that mission: external sensors, sonar arrays, hull fittings, emergency valves. When they fail, divers go. Different equipment, better suits, improved monitoring. But the risk remains real. The ocean has not become kinder. There were no medals broadcast on television, no interviews, no movies. Much of the mission remained classified for decades. The diver returned to anonymity, known only within a small professional circle. That is how military innovation often works. The most important victories are silent. Courage is often portrayed as loud, explosive, and dramatic. But real courage looks different. It looks like a man calmly stepping into black water. It sounds like steady breathing under crushing pressure. It feels like trusting science when fear says no. That diver didn't chase glory. He chased a solution. The ocean has swallowed ships, planes, and entire crews without mercy. But that day it did not win. Human intelligence, discipline, and controlled bravery pushed back. Just enough to prove that even the deepest limits can be negotiated. Not conquered. Negotiated. The deeper a human goes, the less forgiving the ocean becomes. At extreme depths, water does not feel like water anymore. It feels like solid weight, pressing from every direction. Steel creaks. Seals strain. Even submarines built to endure crushing pressure are always one failure away from catastrophe. The diver knew this. He knew that if the submarine's hull had shifted even slightly, if a seal ruptured or if a sudden pressure imbalance occurred, he would not have time to react. There would be no dramatic struggle, just instant silence. Yet this knowledge did not slow him. Instead, it sharpened him. To survive the depth, the diver did not breathe normal air. Nitrogen at that pressure would turn the brain foggy and slow reaction times. Oxygen alone would become toxic. So he breathed a carefully engineered gas mixture: helium, oxygen, and trace elements measured to exact percentages. Even a tiny miscalculation could cause hallucinations, seizures, or unconsciousness. Helium changed his voice to a high, unnatural pitch. Communication became distorted. Surface teams had to translate his words through filters. Every breath was science keeping death away.